You're listening to Turn 2 Podcast presented by Nosebleed Knowledge. Now here's your host, Tucker Franklin.
What is up? It is July 31st. I'm here with my boy KB Kieran Brennan.
How's it going?
And we are here to recap the MLB trade deadline. This is the Turn 2 Podcast, everything you need to know about baseball right here. Now, we did do another episode earlier this week, released on Monday, of the trades that were already done to that point. But as you may know, a lot of trades happen right up to the deadline. And there were a lot of trades that happened today, especially in the last hour of the trade deadline. It's like when you procrastinate, you know? You just kind of mess around a little bit, and then they're like, oh, crap, the deadline's today?
Mm-hmm.
And they just had to punch in the trades.
I understand. I completely agree. We even had some trades come in after the deadline because it takes a while for things to operate. So I love it. Trade deadline is my favorite time of the year. I love all the moves, changing, teams getting better, teams loading up for the future. I love it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we'll start with the biggest move of the day, probably the biggest move of the day. The Pirates made some moves to put themselves in contention. They got Chris Archer, which was the big name on the market. The Rays get Austin Meadows and Tyler Glasnow, and everyone, it seems like a lot of teams get this guy, player to be named later.
Yeah, this is a good move. The Rays had a good day today. They are low-key one of the winners because they are setting up for, I'm assuming they're rebuilding. I'm just going to go ahead and say that even though they are currently in third place in the American League East, so like on paper their team should be rebuilding, but in all actuality their team is performing pretty well. But yeah, the Rays give up Chris Archer for Austin Meadows. Austin Meadows has been swinging the bat pretty well for the Pirates this season. I've watched him beat up on the Cardinals a couple times. Tyler Glasnow, he's a tall dude. I think he's like 6'8", one of the Pirates' top prospects, but he's had trouble like with repeating his motion, his windup and stuff like that because he's so tall. But to the Rays, one of their pitching coaches is also 6'8", and so he will hopefully help Tyler there. And I heard that the player to be named later, and he's probably been named, but I couldn't find it. But I heard that the player to be named later isn't like some tiny prospect. I heard that he is a player that like fans know and have probably heard of.
Yeah, I thought I saw it was a big league player. I don't think that it was named, but they said it was more than likely going to be a big league player. The Pirates made another deal to get Keone Kela, a guy who this year for the Rangers is 3-3. You don't put a lot of stock in the win-loss statistic, but has a 3.44 ERA, lots of strikeouts.
I thought I saw he had 24 saves too.
Yeah, 24 saves. So I mean, he's a good back-end guy for a bullpen that the Pirates, because the Pirates traded away Garrett Cole, their two best players at the beginning of the season. We talked about this at the beginning, or before we went on air, of Andrew McCutchen and Garrett Cole. This kind of adds a little bit of pitching with Chris Archer and Kela to strengthen the back end of that bullpen.
Yeah, like you said, I didn't even realize it until you pointed it out to me. We'll touch on this later on, but winners and losers, Tucker and I had differing opinions on the Pirates. But that was because I like the Chris Archer move. I'm a big Chris Archer guy. I wish the Cardinals would have gotten him. But Tuck's like, I'm going to say that the Pirates are losers because of the fact that they lost Garrett Cole. And when you look at it, I think that Austin Meadows, he's around the same talent that they got back from Garrett Cole. I'm not sure if he's better or worse. But the move for Chris Archer, they might have given up more than they got back for Garrett Cole. But Chris Archer is under control through 2021, whereas Garrett Cole I think he's a free agent after 2019. So it's all about the control here. Kela is a solid back-end arm. Pirates have been sneaky good this year, and Kela will help them close out games earlier. And the Rangers get Taylor Hearn. Taylor Hearn's not too shabby. He'll slide in there and become the Rangers' new number 7 prospect.
Yeah, I think the Pirates made some very good deals, but I just think it sucks for them because at the beginning of the season, they trade away their 2 best players, so they think it's going to kind of be a down year, and then, they're really within striking distance of that second wild card spot, especially with the Cardinals not doing anything like you mentioned at the deadline. They didn't get Archer, so this kind of puts them in position to really strike and try and get that second wild card spot. You can say that they won, and I'm not going to argue with you, but it just sucks if you're a Pirates fan to think, wow, now we have Chris Archer, but we could have had Garrett Cole, Andrew McCutchen, and Chris Archer. But if they give up those 2 guys, do they get Chris Archer? You never know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll move on to some more big blockbuster deals, some big names moving. Brian Dozier, second baseman. Going to the Dodgers to really solidify that middle infield. That was a deal that I saw, and I am a big fan of that deal because Dozier really, like I said, solidifies that middle infield of Machado and Dozier. And so your double play combination will be Machado, Dozier to Muncy, which will be a sweet double play combination.
Is Muncy playing first base, or is that where Bellinger is?
The Dodgers game I watched the other day, he was playing first base, which was last night, I think. I'll check it out.
So, I agree with you. Dozier really solidifies it. Muncy is kind of a guy who can play everywhere, though. So, I think Justin Turner just went on the DL with a groin injury. I think Muncy will be playing third base. So, until Turner comes back, it'll probably be Muncy, Machado, Dozier, Bellinger, which is that would be an infield that I'm feeling pretty comfortable with, if I do say so myself. But I read a stat that since 2014, Dozier and Machado are tied for the 4th most home runs, but by an infielder with 143. So they're getting plenty of thump in the middle of their lineup, and a lineup that features Matt Kemp, Justin Turner, Manny Machado, Brian Dozier, Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy. Man, that is Dodgers are once again, still my pick to make it to the World Series.
Yeah, they really strengthened their lineup too. I just looked at what they had in their lineup today, KB, and they had Machado playing third, Taylor at short, and Kike Hernandez at second, with Muncy at first, which not terrible. Chris Taylor, I guess, is just one of those guys. Chris Taylor broke up that no-hitter from Sean Newcomb, and Chris Taylor's the type of guy that'll just come in and get a base hit and break up a no-hitter, That's what kind of baseball player he is. Machado doesn't really want to play a lot of third base, but I know he's played shortstop a little bit. I think since like you mentioned, Justin Turner going on the DL kind of really put him in that position to play third because he can do it. But I think the hard part is Kike Hernandez is going to start to see a lot less playing time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they might even put Kike on waivers, But like you said, won't see a lot of playing time since now he'll be playing behind Dozier and sharing time with Chase Utley. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Utley this is Utley's last season, so I don't know if they try to move him too much because it'd be a rental for not the Chase Utley of yesteryear. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see someone try to move Kike around, which would be a shame because he's one of the Dodgers that I actually like.
Oh, he's got a great personality. He's one of those guys that you love to see play the game. They also... you have it on here. The Dodgers also got John Axford, the Axe. What did you think about this deal?
So the Dodgers, they have that starting rotation led by Clayton Kershaw, all those lefties. They now have the lineup of thumpers. Their defense isn't bad. The only problem that they really had was their bullpen. And I understand the move. I just don't think this is the best move that they could have made because of the relievers that were out there on the market. The Dodgers have struggled getting from the starter to Kenley Jansen. So they really needed a setup guy. And from the people who are available, I mean, you got to think of the asking price, but I just think they could have done better.
I don't think this trade is necessarily bad, though. John Axford,
No.
traditionally a guy. He's got an ERA this year of 4.41, which is one of his highest. Well, last year he had a 6.43, but it's his second highest he's ever had this year, and which is very uncharacteristic of him. He's got 50 strikeouts. He doesn't have any saves, but he was used really as a setup guy in Toronto, especially. Well, did we touch on the Ozuna trade on Monday?
No. Oh, yeah, that happened.
That happened in between episodes. We'll talk about that here in a little bit then. But especially with the Blue Jays not being that very good of a team, you don't get very many save opportunities. Kind of like with the Royals and Kelvin Herrera, you just don't get to very many opportunities that you have a save. So why keep them? But I like this deal. I do. I'll say that I think the Dodgers are getting a good setup man. I do think that they will probably need a couple more pieces for middle to late or more middle relief in their bullpen, because I'm not sure what they have right now, because I'm not a hardcore Dodgers follower. But I think they'll be okay come playoff time.
The Blue Jays they had a decent bullpen with Sanwang Oh and Ozuna before Ozuna's allegations.
Right.
So they moved their relievers, and relievers were the hot commodity this year.
Mm-hmm. And we'll go ahead and get into the Ozuna, the whole story around that, because that's just, the Astros have been known to have a zero tolerance policy toward domestic abuse. If you don't know, Ozuna has still a couple outstanding charges for domestic abuse, and he's still due back in court. He's currently serving a 75-day suspension, which I didn't know you could trade someone on suspension. That was new to me, and he'll get off of it. He's due to get off of his suspension Sunday, which would be Sunday the 5th. And so he should be back, but he's still due in court. I don't in Canadian court, so I don't know how the Astros are able to look themselves in the proverbial mirror and say that they have a zero tolerance policy while they have a guy who still is due back in court for domestic violence. And I think last year, didn't they release a AAA player for domestic violence? And Justin Verlander came out and made a statement, and not Jose Altuve, but one other of those guys, I think it was Alex Bregman, came out and made a statement saying how this was the right thing to do and how there should be no tolerance for this. It's just a tricky situation, but it just shows you they have a zero tolerance policy only when they're not in a pennant race.
It's just, yeah, exactly. But I think it just kind of glares a light at Ozuna will be able to compete in the postseason. But if you're suspended for PEDs, you're not. If you're suspended for other drug charges, I don't think you are. So it kind of shows the light at all the different leagues around the United States. They all have, none of them have handled domestic violence very well at all, especially the NFL and the MLB. I think that there really needs to be a change, because I don't think there should be any reason that anybody with domestic charges should be competing at any level.
Right, that's a criminal offense. It's breaking the law. So I don't understand how you can still have a job if you break the law. You think if you're an accountant, or if you're a banker, if you're in the media industry, if you're really at any other job besides a professional athlete, and you get a domestic charge on you, you're probably not going to have your job.
Yeah, you're ruined for a long time.
Right, and I just think that's just something to think about. Just reflect on how sports is in America. We'll go ahead and get to more trades. We'll we'll take a step back from this intense talk right here, and we'll go back to talking some baseball. This trade, KB and I, we talked about this a little bit. We didn't talk about it too much though. Tommy Pham, I believe I proclaimed him my favorite Cardinals player. Is that true?
Yep. No, you said Colton Long.
Oh yeah, it was Colton Long. 808.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy Pham gets traded to the Tampa Bay Rays. Have you done any research on these guys that you got back? Because they definitely aren't household names.
Yeah. So the Cards got back Genesis Cabrera, Justin Williams, and Roel Ramirez. Justin Williams, left-handed hitting outfielder, which kind of led to another move that the Cardinals made later on in the day. He will slide in there as the Cardinals' number 9 prospect, so a top 10 prospect, and Genesis Cabrera will go in there as the Cardinals' number 14 ranked prospect. So they'll go in there as highly touted prospects. Their stats weren't that great from what I saw. Really, this was a move to open up playing time for Tyler O'Neill and Harrison Bader. Tyler O'Neill had 26 bombs heading into today, which led the PCL and was near the top in all of the minor leagues. And he was just a guy that you couldn't afford to keep down for much longer. And Harrison Bader, he's near the top in defensive WAR, and he's also one of the fastest players in the majors. He's a hard worker, hustler. So this was a move that the Cardinals made. Tommy Pham, of the 3 outfielders, Fowler, Ozuna, and Pham, Tommy Pham was the easiest to move because he still has, I think he has 3 more years of arbitration left, whereas Fowler, so you can get playing time for not a whole lot. Fowler has a pretty big contract, and Ozuna's is through arbitration through 2019. So Pham was the easiest one to move. A lot of people were saying it was because of his comments. I read that it wasn't the comments. It was the fact that they needed to open up space for Tyler O'Neill. The Cardinals are really trying to build for 2019, 2020, and this seemed like this was the move that Mo thought was the best to make. Mo and Gersh thought was the best to make.
You know, sometimes you just have to think that maybe they know their team better than we do.
Yeah.
I
but
know.
It's tough.
It is. And I run into that with the Royals, too, with thinking, obviously, we talked about how Whit Merrifield wasn't traded, and I just don't understand why he wasn't traded. But, hey, maybe Ned Yost and GM Dayton Moore know a little bit more about the team than I do. And sometimes I just have to tell myself that.
Yeah.
It's not fun. But we'll keep it rolling here on our trade deadline recap. Not the Phillies. The Orioles continued to blow up their current roster. And they traded... Is this Guzman? Or
I thought it was Gosman.
We'll go with Gosman. Trade Gosman to the Braves. Braves contenders right now could really needed to add an extra arm, and they do.
Yeah, this was a big move from the Braves. The Braves made a lot of moves for pitching, so it really shows that they're buyers at the deadline and they're all in. And I'm a big believer in the Braves. The Orioles get 5 more prospects. The Orioles have been. We criticized them, or at least I know I did. Tucker probably did too, early on in the podcast for not trading enough. But they've gotten Tuck? What'd you say? 15 prospects.
15 for 4 or 5 guys. I don't remember how many they've traded. They've traded Machado. They've traded Britton. They've traded Brock.
Gosman. And
O'Day.
And Shop. Oh shoot! They've gotten a lot. They've traded a lot of their
6 for 15.
They've traded a lot of big name guys. Gotten a lot of prospects in return. They got 4 from the Braves. most notably, they got infielder Giancarlos Encarnacion, and he'll slide in there as the O's number 15 prospect. He's an infielder. And they also got Brett Cumberland, who will slide in there as the Orioles' new number 30 prospect.
Yeah, you were telling me before we started this podcast that they basically revamped their whole top 30 with prospects they got in these trades.
Yeah, so through these trades, the Orioles now have a new number 1, number 6, number 7, number 14, number 15, number 16, number 17, number 23, number 27, and number 30. And if you're counting, like me, that is 10 prospects. So they have of their top 30, they have acquired 1/3 of them since the beginning of July.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Good work on their part.
Another team that I thought had a fairly good deadline was the Diamondbacks. Able to get Brad Siegler and Jake Diekman.
They also got, we touched on this on Monday, but they also got Eduardo Escobar.
That is true. So adding to that, they've had a very good trade deadline, I would say. They gave the Marlins Tommy Eveld, and this name's going to be tough for me. The Rangers get right-handed pitchers Wang Shang Huang.
Yeah. I mean, they're really shoring up their bullpen. The Dodgers have really gotten thumpers, but I mean, that West is wide open between the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers. Not to mention, and we're talking about Diamondbacks trades, not to mention the Diamondbacks got our boy John Jay, former friend, old friend alert.
Old friend of the podcast, John Jay. He's not really a friend of the podcast, but he's a friend. He's fond to Kieran and I's hearts. I only watched John Jay play for about, 2 or 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Maybe not even that. And I was a big fan of how he played the game of baseball, which we both like here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Diamondbacks had a good deadline. Philly had a great deadline. They traded for Asdrubal Cabrera. We talked about that on Monday's show. And then they get Wilson Ramos. Tampa Bay gets a player to be named later. Hot commodity is that player to be named later. But Ramos is currently serving a DL stint, will be back soon, and it really solidifies that catching spot.
Yeah, I think this deadline really goes to show you that the Braves and the Phillies are all in on this year, is why I picked them both to make the playoffs. But I don't think the Nationals make it. Even though they beat the Mets 25-1 tonight, they should have spread those runs out more. I don't think they're going to make it. But, just think that the left side of Philly's infield is now Odubel Herrera and Asdrubal Cabrera.
Woohoo! That is we need to put together an all-name team.
All-name team.
An all-name team, and I think that we should put that out because that would be very interesting to everybody involved. The Phillies, they beat the Red Sox tonight. I watched that game on ESPN. It was a good game. They had a chance to win. I picked Mookie Betts for my beat the streak, and he was pinch hit in the 9th inning. He didn't start today, and popped out to third base. So, I wasn't very happy.
I hate that so much.
Yeah, but the Phillies are a good baseball team. I really think they're not pretenders. I think a lot of people, when they see the Phillies, they're like, oh, they're probably just a hot streak. You know, the last Phillies team I can remember being good was the Ryan Howard, Chase Utley Phillies. I think they had Roy Halladay on their team as well. Those Phillies were good. Did they win the World Series that year? And was that 06?
No, in 06 the Cardinals won. In 011 the Cardinals beat them in the NLDS, but that rotation was Roy Halladay, Roy Oswalt, I think maybe Cliff Lee. Cliff Lee might have been on that team.
I think you're right. I'll look up the 27 Phillies roster right now because that team was good. That's like the last Phillies team I can remember.
At one point, they had Halladay, Oswalt, and Cliff Lee. along with I think it was Jamie Moyer and someone else.
Where are the pitchers at? Okay. They had Roy Halladay. They had Cole Hamels, Kyle
Oh
Kendrick.
yeah, how can we forget about Cole Hamels?
Yeah, Cliff Lee, Brad Lynch, Ryan Madsen.
Oh, Ryan Madsen, the bridge to Lidge, Ryan Madsen.
Oh yeah, Roy Oswald,
Mm.
J.C. Romero. Their infielders: Ryan Howard, Placido Polanco. He might be on the all-name team.
Too bad they ran into the team of destiny that year. Or in 2011, they did.
Oh, they had Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley, Brandon Moss, John Mayberry Jr., Raul Ibanez. Don't forget they had Eric Kratz backing up Carlos Ruiz. Chooch.
Mm.
All right, we just went from talking about the trade deadline to talking about the 2011 Phillies. That was a good baseball team.
They ran to the team of destiny that year.
Yeah. I almost asked who was on that team, but then we just get down that tangent. Let's just stay focused.
The Cardinals team?
Did they have David Eckstein?
No, David Eckstein wasn't
Dang it.
But that team was, 2011. That was Albert Pujols. That was Matt Holliday. That was Lance Berkman. Pitchers, they had Chris Carpenter. They had Edwin Jackson. Octavio Dotel.
Oh, that guy.
Man, Alan Craig was a rookie that year. John Jay played I almost said a lot of minutes.
A lot of innings.
David Freese. That was the David Freese year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hometown hero.
Yeah.
I think you pretty much nailed it. I'm looking at the roster right now, just trying to see.
Yadier.
Ryan Franklin.
Oh, he was the closer that was Jason Mott. Jason Mott was the closer that year.
Yeah, Kyle Loesch, Lance Lynn, who was traded to the Yankees.
Yeah.
Ryan Theriot.
Oh, the Riot. The Riot.
Skip Schumacher, Nick Punto, Alex Pujols, Pete Kozma, Rafael Furcal, Daniel Descalso, Matt Carpenter. That infield was stacked.
We won it, boy. We won it. But at one point, another tangent. But at one point, the Cubs had Zambrano, Soriano, Terrio, and Fontenot.
Oh, those Zambrano Cubs teams, or some of the teams that. Those are teams you love to hate because of Carlos Zambrano. I forgot about Carlos Zambrano. Holy moly! I made a tweet.
Do you remember when they used to fight each other? That was the Zambrano team that they would fight Zambrano would fight Derek Lee and then Jason Barrett, you know?
Yes, the Cubs were so toxic those years. Oh my goodness. Well,
Dusty Baker.
We just reminisced on pretty much the whole 2011 baseball season. How old were we in 2011? Not too
in 2011, that was
7
in
years
the fall.
ago.
That was our 8th grade year. That was the fall of our 8th grade year.
Yeah, like it was yesterday.
Like it was yesterday.
I guess we'll get back into talking trades.
The Cardinals had Zepchinski. They had Zepchinski.
Oh my gosh! Well, no, we're not going to get back into talking trades because I forgot. This Cardinals team was actually really good. Holy moly!
And that was the last time they made a big move at the deadline because they traded Colby Rasmus and somebody else, and they got Edwin Jackson, Octavio Dotel, Mark Zepchinski. Oh man, that was a good team.
Good times.
They used to call him Scrabble. He didn't like that nickname. All the people with the best nicknames don't like him.
Joakim Sawyer, Executioner. Doesn't like it.
Mark Zepchinski, Scrabble. Kevin Durant, the Durantula. Didn't like that.
Yeah. Sometimes people just don't like good things.
Yeah.
Well, we'll step off this tangent, and we'll talk about some more trades. We still have a few left. I really don't. The biggest one I see, I guess there's two pretty big ones that in my mind, are two of the big ones. Is yes, Shoop to the Brewers, and the Red Sox get Ian Kinsler. Those are two of the biggest ones I saw. The Shoop to Brewers move, you had a little, you were questioning a little bit.
Yeah, but then I saw that Shoot played shortstop in the minors, so I understand it now. It just that's another move that it doesn't seem like it was the one that the Brewers needed to make.
Right.
The Brewers needed starting pitching more than they needed Shoot. But I mean, it's a good move. Good move for both the Brewers and the Orioles.
Now,
Go
ahead. Are you done?
I was just gonna say, Orioles get Jonathan Villar, Luis Ortiz, and Gene Carmona. Ortiz becomes the Orioles' number 7 prospect, and Carmona becomes the Orioles' number 14 prospect.
Yeah. Once again, Orioles, restocking that minor league system, getting some seed to put down on the farm. That's a bad analogy. I didn't like that analogy, but the Brewers were in contention to get Matt Harvey at the deadline. This was a story I was following pretty close. At the deadline, I had the live blog going. You can actually follow it if you go to the live blog and just read down. I put the times next to it and everything of how the story developed. They were in contention, and really time just ran out. Nobody gave the Reds a good enough deal, but they expect Matt Harvey to clear waivers. And then you can trade that way, because once you're DFA, there's 10 days. Baseball's, if you don't already know by now, baseball has the most confusing transaction process ever. And if you're new to this, good luck trying to figure it out, because it's taken me 20 years of my life, and I still don't know how it's done.
Yeah, so like in the NFL, past the trade deadline, can't trade.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. NBA, past the trade deadline, can't trade.
Can't
And the MLB, past the trade deadline, you put them on waivers. And waiver system is crazy. So say I'm the Cardinals, I put Dexter Fowler on waivers. Dexter Fowler has to pass through all the teams before like the Cardinals can freely negotiate with other teams like that. But if I put Dexter Fowler on waivers and the Dodgers claim him, I can either negotiate a trade with the Dodgers or take Dexter Fowler off waivers.
Yeah, see, like it just is. It's not how other sports do it.
And you can only do that up until like it's either mid-August or the first day of September. And if you do it after then that player can't compete in the postseason.
I'll look up the waiver deadline real quick. No, that's the non-waiver deadline. Well, I think it's August 30th, 31st.
Yeah.
It's just at the end of August is what it is. Yeah, there's 31 days in August, isn't there? Yeah, there's. So it's probably August 31st.
Right.
Yep. So that should be interesting. I think Matt Harvey will probably go there. I know the Cubs were contenders to get him as well, but it looked like that the Brewers were probably going to get him until the Cubs kind of made their late push. The Brewers really do need starting pitching, and I think if they get Matt Harvey, they'll be in okay shape. The Red Sox get Kinsler, Angels in return get Ty Buttery. You think that's how you say that name?
I think so. I'm not sure though.
That might be an all-team name and all-name team. And left-handed pitcher Williams Jerez.
Williams Jerez.
That's a cool name too. There's lots of cool names on this. Buttery becomes the Red Sox 27th prospect. Yeah, I think this is a good move for the Red Sox. I mean, really solidifies their second base. Who's playing second base before?
Oh, Butcher doesn't become the Sox number 27. He becomes the Angels. That's my B.
Oh. All right. Well, he becomes the Angels number 27 prospect now.
So, okay. Dustin Pedroia was playing second.
Oh yeah, and
right?
he got hurt. Yeah, he's
that's why
hurt. Right.
That's why they booted Hanley, and the Red Sox were looking for a middle infielder because I'm not sure who's playing second for them right now.
Right. Well, I mean today Ian Kinsler played second base, but yesterday I'm not sure.
They were trying to get Beltre, but nobody got Beltre. So
yeah, Beltre said that he wanted to end his career. He doesn't know if he'll play past this year. And he didn't know if he was just going to end it there. End it in Texas. I also saw Chris Sale got put on the 10-day disabled list with left shoulder inflammation, retroactive to the 28th. They called up Brandon Workman from AAA, and he's basically just going to miss a start. It's just to get him rest, really. I think is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, this 10-day DL. We talked about that earlier. Is that's what they like to do is put pitchers on there
Mhm.
for them to get rest. Is there another trade that you wanted to talk about while I find who played second base before Ian Kinsler did?
No.
I think those are pretty much the big ones right there. Is what we touched on. There were some smaller ones. I think. Who did
Let's
Cleveland
see.
end up getting?
Smaller ones. Cleveland got prospect Mercado from the Cardinals, Leonis Martin and Doughty
Leonis Martin.
from
That's right.
from the Tigers. Cameron Maben went to the Mariners.
Mm-hmm.
The Mariners sent the Marlins Brigman, who becomes their number 28 prospect, and the Cubs got Kinsler from the Nationals.
Oh yeah, that's who got. Oh yeah, the Cubs got that starting pitching, and it would have been wild if they would have got Harvey as well.
Yeah.
They would have had a solid rotation, especially since Yu Darvish has been on the disabled list, and I don't know when he's set back to return. Do you know?
Nope. He's been off and on it all year. So
Yeah, he hasn't really pitched very well, but I was never big on Yu Darvish. Before we got on the show, I was watching baseball tonight, and Masahiro Tanaka was on there, and I just honestly forgot about him because I just hadn't seen him in so long.
yeah, he had that. He pitched really well last year, but he had the same elbow injury that Otani has.
There must be something in the water over there.
Maybe all of North Korea's nuclear weapons.
Yeah, probably is. So I found out who played second base for Ian Kinsler did. Eduardo Nunez.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I saw it and I went, that's right. So okay, go ahead.
They'll probably move him over to third now that they have
Well, they just
Kinsler.
called up their stud third baseman from the minor leagues.
Who's that?
Oh shoot, I just forgot his name. I just saw something about it. I'll tell you here in a minute. He's actually hitting really well for him. So I don't think they'll move him anytime soon. And
Is it that Swihart guy?
Swihart, yeah, it's exactly who it is. And he's playing third base for him right now. And really, their lineup looks solid. Pomeranz didn't pitch very good today, but he didn't pitch very good and gave up I think 1 run, maybe 2 runs. The Phillies were just a better team today. They just played better. But that's just how baseball is, any given day. Just like football any given Sunday. It's just literally any given day in baseball. Swihart was catching. They had Nunez at third. I thought Swihart was a third baseman. I was wrong. Yeah, I mean they put Brock Holt at the DH spot, which you don't really think of Brock Holt as a DH.
No.
And I think that's the only thing that really gets him.
I forgot that Rick Porcello won the Cy Young.
I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
There's
That's crazy.
I think there's a lot of pitchers that have won the Cy Young that you just forget about.
Yeah, because I always thought, I get Pomeranz and Porcello mixed up, and you said Pomeranz wasn't very good or whatever like that, and I'm like, didn't he win the Cy Young? And I went there and was like, no, but it was Rick Porcello, which is weird. That's just weird to me.
Oh,
I don't know why.
I'm not saying that Pomeranz is a bad pitcher. I'm just saying he just didn't have his stuff today. Or he just didn't get run support, really, is what it was.
I don't know. I'm so shook by the fact that he won the Cy Young, but I am.
Ooh, Jake Peavy, one of my favorite pitchers of all time. I don't know if you know that.
Jake Peavy was a stud.
Cy Young winner. Let's see if there's any guys that you'll be like, oh, he was
We're about
a
to get
Cy
off
Young
on.
winner?
About to get off on another tangent.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at all these Cy Young winners. I was like, yeah, I knew all those were Cy Young winners. Barry Zito.
The year that Porcello won, that was
He was 22-4. Holy moly!
that was the year that Zach Britton had 47 saves and an ERA of .54.
That's just ridiculous. All right, KB, let's wrap up this show.
Sounds good.
Let's talk about your winners. We kind of touched about winners a little bit, but tell us who you have for winners.
My winners are the Pirates for getting Archer and Keela, and the Orioles are basically getting a new farm system.
I'll give my big W. You know how the Royals used to have that W guy come out? We kind of talked about him on one of the earlier podcasts, how they fired him because they don't really need any guys to hang up Ws because they're not getting any Ws. But I'll give my W to the Boston Red Sox. You know, it doesn't really seem like they did a whole bunch, but they got guys to solidify the holes as they're making a real big World Series push. They take on the Yankees here in a few weeks. I believe actually on Sunday is when they have Sunday Night Baseball against the Yankees. So I think they had a really good deadline. The Brewers didn't do too bad either. I will say, I know you weren't a big fan of the Brewers deals, but I think that the Brewers added a lot of power to that lineup with Mike Moustakas, and then really were able to lock down that infield with Shoop. Is that how you say
I think I've heard shop.
Really? I'm going to baseball.
But
reference.
it looks like Shoop to me.
Yeah, you know, like that dance move? Scope.
Really? Huh?
Yep, Jonathan
I'm
Scope.
sorry.
Well, we have pronounced his name wrong the whole podcast. Jonathan Scope, if you're listening, I'm very sorry. He's from Curacao. Are they in the World Baseball Classic, Curacao? Because if they are, they would have a very good team.
I don't know.
All right. You have anything else to add, KB? Want to talk about anything else before we get off?
No.
I don't think the standings have changed. I think the playoff picture is still the same.
Yeah.
So, I think that'll do it for this episode of Turn 2 Podcast. I had a fun time talking about trades with you guys. Make sure to like us on Facebook, Nosebleed Knowledge. Follow us on Twitter at NosebleedsKnow. For my boy KB, Kieran Brennan, this has been Turn 2. We'll catch you guys on the flip.